Emilio Mwai Kibaki did not introduce free primary education. Emilio Mwai Kibaki reintroduced free primary education. You check with people, 95% of Kenyans will tell you that Kibaki started free primary education. I've checked with Google. Google is talking of Kibaki introducing free primary education. That is not the truth. But you see, those people who upload information in Google are the 844 and so on. So you find that it's a bit hard for them to know the truth. So today we are going to talk about free primary education. I have checked with Google, and several entries records that Kibaki started free primary education. The truth is that Kibaki reintroduced free primary education. That is the truth. And I recorded this to make the records clear. During the time of Jomo Kenyatta, there were two types of free education. There are two types of free education. We had free primary education. This free primary education during Jomo's time was slowly killed by Moi. It was slowly killed by Moi, as we will see. And so Kibaki reintroduced it. And then there was also free high school education. There is also free high school education. I must point out to 844 that high school is Form 5 and 6. High school is Form 5 and 6, which very soon will be called senior school, isn't it? That is why you hear an 844 say, I went to this or that high school, but what did you get in that school? You never got HSC. HSC. Some Kenyans will say head of state commendation. You never got high school certificate. What you got was Kenya Certificate of Secondary. Underline the word secondary education. Examination. I don't know. During our time, we used to have East African Certificate of Education. So I don't know whether KSC is examination or education. But during our time, it was East African Certificate of Education. Well, 844 tell me, is it education or examination? But when from 4 you get Certificate of Secondary. Yes, the school you go to is called a high school, but the education you had was secondary education. Quickly, I'll quickly say something of which I think I've talked it in the past. That during our time, schools that ended at Form 4 used to be called secondary school. And when they upgraded to Form 6, they would change to high school. For example, the school I went for Form 5 and Form 6, my Form 6 certificate reads Bungoma Secondary School. Bungoma Secondary School. Although I did my high school there, but it is written Bungoma Secondary School because it had been changed. They had added Form 5 and 6, and they were in the process of changing the name of the school to the new school. Only that by the time I took my A levels, it was still the name was Bungoma High School, but as an exam center, it was still called Bungoma Secondary School. So I think you know the difference between high school and secondary school. I wanted to say this. that I'll start with the education, which was some people say university education was free, but those who went to university during my time, it was not free. Actually, we didn't have this. You see, like Ruto's government, they say that there is money for household or whatever. There used to be no household. It used to be full sponsorship. It was full sponsorship. That is why you find that when you go to look for a job, you have to have a university clearance. You have to have a university clearance. So what used to happen in those days is that, like today, household is I don't know how much is, depending on which brand you have been given, but there is an element of household. They call it household contribution. But during my time and whatever, the government used to to what do you call, give the whole loan, and that is why you find that HELB is complaining that those who went to university using the government money should return it so that others enjoy from that. I hope you understand. Those who are in my age, so I cannot say that university was free. No, university, you had a full the government paid for you. It full loan. I can say it is a full loan, so that later when you start working, you are supposed to return the money. People will think it was free, but it was not. Um, I think that is clear. University, it was not free. It was a loan that you had taken, and upon graduation you are supposed to pay. Then there is uh, a Form 5 and 6. I want to talk a lot about free primary education. So I'll start up there. I've started with the university. I said university, the way people say, oh, during our time it was free. What was free during that time, during my time, are two things. Accommodation. Accommodation in the university hostel was free, and the university food was free. That is until 1990, when they brought in pay as you eat. 1990 is when they brought in pay as you eat. Otherwise, food and accommodation from 1990 and backward was free, but education you had to pay, and that is why I keep on repeating that. Now finished that the university, let us go to Form 5 and 6. In the 60s, jobs were in plenty. Jobs were in plenty, and some people even went to school for 4 years only. They just went to school for 4 years and then looked for a job. So for the government to make somebody join Form 5 and 6, there had to be some sweeteners. Let me give another example. If you completed Standard 4 and went straight to a TTC, Teachers Training College, you would come out and be a P4 teacher. You'd come out and be a P4 teacher. P4, primary 4 teacher. And if you left school at Standard 8, you would become a P3 teacher. If you left at Standard 8. Around 1968 is when Standard 8 was wiped out. Those people who are in Standard 7 and 8, around 1967, both did CPE. Both of them did CPE. Those who were in Standard 7 did the same exam as those who did Standard 8. That is how they deleted the Standard 8. So that if you are a Standard 7 and you pass that exam, you would go to Form 1. But if you are Standard 8 and you fail that exam, either you went out to look for a job or you repeated Standard 7. Now, I don't know how life would have been if 1966 you are in Standard 7, 1966. 67, you are in 8, and then 68, you are in Standard 7. Most of the people then so no need of continuing school for long. They just went and looked for a job. So I'm talking of the standard 8, which was the original one. If you completed primary at standard 8, you went to a TTC, you'd come out as a P3 teacher. And then when you leave the school at Form 2, it used to be Kenya Junior Secondary Examination. When you left school at Form 2 and you joined teaching, you'd be a P2. And then if you left school at Form 4, you'd become a P1. So these other three, 2P2, P1, 2P, P2, P3, P4 were later on eliminated. But during those days, you could do your own private studies as you teach. For example, if you are a standard 7 person who went for a teacher's training college and came out as a P3, if you did on your own private, what do you call, self-taught, and you passed your Form 4 exam, you'd move from P3 to P1. Or if you wanted to take the longer route, you do privately KJC, and you'd be a P2, and then later on you do your Form 4, you'd be a P1. Now, some people have been arguing with me. We all agree, I think everybody agrees that we have a generation that is just rude. Somebody who can argue with you about life when you are 30 years old and he was not born, but he wants to teach you what was happening then. Someone asking me, how is it that somebody attending a P4 would be in the same class with a P1 student, for them when they graduate. This one graduates as a P1 and this one graduates as a P4. I remember personally, I was a recruit in Kiganjo in Squad 1, and when I was a recruit, we were 2 Form 6s, and we had several people who did not who did not know how to read and write, and we were taught in the same class. So those days it used to be that way. So it happened that way. And as I was saying before I started talking about employment being out there, you see, those years you could stop, you could stop education at any level and you get a job. But nowadays, how many people have graduated, and some even stay there looking for a job for several years, then they go back to the university for masters, still no job, something like that. But those days jobs were in plenty. So Jomo Kenyatta's government felt that they needed to take a lot of people to the university. And the only way you could join the university was, you could not join the university from Form 4 to university. No, you had to pass through advanced level or high school. So they started off with a few colleges. Actually, they were not even school, they were colleges. Like Strathmore College was strictly Form 5, Form 6. Kenyatta College was strictly Form 5, Form 6. Siriba College was strictly Form 5 and Form 6. A few of that. These were colleges which, yes, college, who are strictly to teach people in a high school certificate. That is how things like Kenyatta College, which today is called Kenyatta University. It used to be one big military camp for King's African Rifle. But when Kenya attained independence, so many of those soldiers went to their country, and we found ourselves with very few soldiers there. So they cut the camp into two. One half continued being Kahawa Barracks, and the other one became Kenyatta College, a college for advanced level people. Now, what used to happen when colleges used to teach, you'd finish your Form 4 in whichever school you are going, and then you go to a college for your advanced level. Life in the college was very good for the high school certificate. You don't pay anything. You don't pay anything at all, at all. That is the free high school education that Kenyatta introduced. You don't pay anything at all. The government pays everything. And you see, you go to class, it reaches 4, you change into civilians. You can go and stroll in town because they were boarding schools. And in the evening, you come back. The government, and the quality of food was better than the Form 4 and whatever. It was a way of the Jomo Kenyatta encouraging people to do their advanced level. And now what happened here was, say, that is where they use the word capitation. Yeah, that is where the government, that is where the economists use the word capitation. The government used to pay everything for the A-level people from 5 and from 6. And they used to make sure that the meals were good. There was even something that was called, okay, they used to take tea at 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. They used to take tea twice a day. So after classes at 4, you take a cup of tea, stroll in town, come back in the evening, sleep. The morning you continue. While from 1 to from 4, people used to pay fees. People used to pay fees. Uh, the system that was brought recently, was it by Uhuru and Ruto, of free secondary education, or where they say capitation again. But you see, if you're in a day school, you don't pay. But if you're in a boarding school, you pay boarding money only. So that is how it is, free secondary education. Education is free, but your accommodation or anything, you pay for that. So that if you are in a day school, you don't pay anything. That is free secondary education. This one was brought by Ruto and Jomo's son, Uhuru. But during Jomo's time, I started with the university. I'm now at high school, Form 5, Form 6. In Form 5, Form 6, you were in a college, everything was taken care of. And head teachers in secondary school discovered, secondary from Form 1 to Form 4, they used to, from 1 to Form 4, they used to pay fees. They used to pay fees from 1 to Form 4. But, and a head teacher or a school bazaar will tell you that getting fees from parents is one of the hardest jobs in this world. There was a bit, it was it was a bit hard to collect fee even today. So they came up and found that the capitation for advanced level was very high because it was secure and something like that. So the school started just like today. If you want your school to be upgraded, like when CBC started, there are some private schools which had applied to be allowed to use to have junior secondary. If you wanted to do that, you were given condition: make a lab, do this, blah blah blah. So head teachers in ordinary secondary school applied to have their schools have an advanced level, a high school place. And so they were, after giving certain qualifications, the qualification in form of what do you call equipments in school. Do you have labs? Do you have teachers who can teach? Because I was taught in secondary, some of the teachers who taught me, there were some S1. P1 is for primary, S1 is a secondary teacher. I was taught with several S1 people. I was taught by several diploma teachers. So you had to make sure, you had to convince. But even a diploma, my teacher who taught me Kiswahili, Jibu ya Kale, in Form 5 and Form 6, because Kiswahili was my fourth principal subject. The teacher who taught us Kiswahili, Jibwakali, had a diploma, and he was teaching Form 5, Form 6. But there was a way you could convince the government that your school is ready for Form 5, Form 6. It is because head teachers came to know that if you have an A-level stream, uh, you don't you are well paid. Capitation is given well, uh, but when it comes to Form 1 to Form 4, there was no capitation in Form 1 to Form 4. Actually, capitation means school fees paid by the government, isn't it? The school fees they paid by the government for each student per school. So school fees used to be paid Form 5, Form 6 by the government, and you see, you don't expect school fees for Form 1 to be the same as Form 5. So that Form 5 and 6 used to be high. The head teachers found that they could solve a lot of their problems by having a high school. It was not automatic, you had to convince them. So you find that a school, colleges like Kenyatta College and Kenyatta College later became Kenyatta University College because it was part of Nairobi. It was the main campus was Nairobi University. Actually, Kenyatta, when students left that school, now went to other schools for their A levels, Kenyatta University now became the faculty. Yeah, during my time, when we had only one public university in Kenya, it was Nairobi University. And all faculties were in town in the CBD from Chiromo all the way to up to Central Police Station. That is where Nairobi University was. But Nairobi University Faculty of Law, nowadays I hear they have changed names, they call it not Faculty of Law, Faculty of Education. Now they have changed all faculties, now they call it the School of Education was now in Kenyatta University, which left. Kenyatta University stopped educating Form 5 and 6 and started educating. It took the School of Education. And Kenyatta University only gave 3 degrees. They gave 3 degrees. The first degree was Bachelor of Education Science. The second one was Bachelor of Education Arts. And the third one was Bachelor of Education General. Now, I don't know what general it meant. Sisi tulikwamia Form 6. Now, this is what and then there is, what do we call, Siriba. Siriba, it became a TTC later. After schools now started having their A levels, Siriba became a TTC. And after being a TTC, a diploma teachers college. After it became a diploma teachers college, then later on, plus other whatever, Siriba Teachers College, Maseno GTI, Government Training Institution. Nowadays they call it KGS, Kenya School of Government. Yeah. So Maseno Kenya School of Government plus Siriba TTC joined together to become, what is the name of this university there? Masinde Mulro. Which university is this one in? Masinde Mulro is in Nairobi, is in Kakamega, but the university in, I'll write in the comments. Some of these things I keep on forgetting. Maseno University, yeah, it became Maseno University. I've just remembered. So that is how it was. That at first, colleges used to take for advanced level people, but then schools started upgrading, and schools have started upgrading because the head teachers knew that with an A level, you get more facilities and you get better teachers and you also get a good capitation. So you find that that is when now people the age of, this senior council called Abdul Nasir, those are the people who were there. In their A levels, they used to free food, free accommodation, free tea, and whatever. That is, Kina Abdi Nasir are now the second lot now of A levels. I am of the third and last. I'm of the third and last. The first lot A levels were in colleges. The second, they came to secondary schools, and then the secondary schools changed their names from Bungoma Secondary School to Bungoma High School. That is how they changed their names, indicating that they have up to Form 6. Now, the second lot, the first lot, I'm saying that they were in colleges. The second lot is now, they were in secondary schools, but now renamed high school, and they were not paying for fees. What's more, wewe uko Form 1 mpaka Form 4, you pay fees, but when it reaches and you eat the same, and if you have been to Bungoma High School, you'll find that some dormitories like Taifa Hall, not a Taifa Hall, Taifa Hostel had cubicles. But when you go to other dormitories like Olympic, they were just dormitories like we know. Those ones with cubicles were meant for A levels, high school. Those were meant for A levels. Others were just left like what you know. So lot number one, they used to stay in colleges. Lot number two, they came and stayed in secondary schools, which was renamed high schools. And then every time at 4, at 10 a.m. and at 4, they would go to the dining hall to have tea. While the Form 1 to Form 4, they just look at them. That tea, you see, they were advanced level students. They were advanced level students. And so they used to be called, it used to be called advanced level AT, AT, um, A level T. But then somebody started, we used to have silent wars between Form 4s and Form 6 because we used to call Form 4s, Form 4 is ordinary level. 844, you should know that Form 4 is called ordinary level. So we used to call them zero level, zero level. So Form 5 and 6 would boast and tell the Form 4s that, first of all, you put on kinyasa, we put on long trouser. And then you tell Form 4, I'm going to have academic tea. Academic tea. That one also gave the head teachers an excuse to discontinue that tea. To discontinue that tea. And when they, uh, 2 cups of tea per day. We From 5 and 6 used not to be many, around 50 people. Now 50 people, no, yeah, 2 classes, 25, 25, or even 40, yeah, 40 people. Now 40 people per day, 2 cups of tea, that is 80 cups of tea. Sasa per day, per week is how many? 80 times 7. You know that. So you find that the head teachers discontinued giving the A levels tea, the academic tea. They stopped doing that under pretext that it was bringing tension between the O levels and the A levels. But in reality, where did that money go? Yeah, that is how now lot number 2 came and stayed with the Form 1s and Form 2, Form 3, and Form 4 in a secondary school renamed high school. Now, what happened is that so many schools opened and the government could pay for just so many people. So, if let us say that in the whole country there were about 20 or even 30 colleges that were training, there were around 20 or 30 colleges training A levels. Now you find that in every town, each and every town had 3 or 4 high schools with A levels. So you find that the student population in A level became so much that the government introduced introduced, just before I joined Form 5, the government introduced school fee, because the people they were pushing to go and take senior position, already the senior position were full. So it became, like I said when I started, the government was encouraging people not to go to work, but to study more. Now that those positions were being filled in and whatever, the A levels was not a mandatory. They say that the hunter becomes the hunted, whereas the government had been initially been uh, I mean, initially it was fembelezering people to go to A levels. Now it was for you to fight to join A levels. That is when we now started having situation where combination, things such as combination in the university nowadays, they say cluster subject. Combination to make you to join Form 5 now became the clarion call. So we are with the third lot, with the third and last lot, paid for our school fees. We were even locked in schools, such that going out weekend for free walks, we went weekend for free walks just like even Form 1s. The days when a Form 5 or a Form 6, after taking 4 o'clock tea, would just walk to town and come back in the evening just in time for supper was no longer there. And so the free high school fees ended there. I said there were 2 types of school fees which were free. I said the university appeared to be free, but no, you had to be marked later, you'll pay. But A levels, I've just extensively said how high school used to get free school fees until it reached a time. It reached a time when all many schools became so many of them that they were all having, and the government could maybe uh, pay fees for 2,000. Now it reached maybe 20,000. You see, it was a problem, and there was no need. It was not compulsory now. The hunter was being hunted. So where the government was trying to bembeleza you to join Form 5, it is now you who was sweating to go to Form 5. So that is how high school free education and free tea and free movement ended. Lastly, I want to talk about free primary education, which is, of course, the topic of today's item. Uh, on Jamhuri Day, 1974, Jomo Kenyatta said that they are going to that in January 1975, everybody who was in standard 1 to standard 4, there will be no school fees. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Just like what Kibaki did. Kibaki just did exactly what Jomo had died in just what Jomo had done in 1974. That is exactly what Jomo did in 1974. Jamhuri Day, he said, starting from 1st January 1975, from standard 1 to standard 4, no fees paying. It means that anybody who joined standard 1 1975 just went to buy uniform and you'd be allocated classes. You'll register, yes, but you'll be allocated classes. That is what Jomo did. If you joined standard 1 1975. Now, if you joined standard 1 1974, you paid fees for 1974 standard 1, but 1975, you would tell people I joined standard 1 1974 and paid fees only in standard 1. But standard 2 to standard 7, I paid nothing. Now, if you joined Standard 1 1973, you'd say that I paid the school fees in Standard 3 1973, Standard 4 1974, and Standard 1 1973, Standard 2 1974. Yeah, and then the rest I did. And then there is somebody who joined 1972, Standard 1. He would say, or she would say, 1972, I paid fees, Standard 1. 1973, I paid fees for Standard 2. 1974, I paid Standard 3. But 1975, I never paid anything. But anybody who joined Standard 1, 1975, up to the time when JOMO Kenyatta died, you only went to register for school and you paid nothing up to Standard 7. Now, this thing, technically, if you go technically, it is said that school fees has never been paid in primary. But what Moi government did, because I remember during my time, during that time, when Standard 1 up to 5, up to Standard 4 were paying fees. So me, I was paying. 1975 is when I was in Standard 7. I paid fees, which was 20 shillings per term. So that is at Mbagathi. I nearly said at Mbagathi Hospital. Yes, it is Mbagathi Hospital because my school is just the gate is facing the gate of the hospital and the gate of Mbagathi. The two Mbagathi what do you call the two Mbagathi gates are facing each other. So I was at Mbagathi Primary School. We used to pay 20 shillings school fees. There's a day when they used to come to collect fees. If your parent has no money on that day, then it means you'll be chased away and you'll go and line up in City Hall with so many kids. So they used to come and it was 20 shillings. How much was 20 shillings? 20 shillings was 5 shillings was a dollar. 5 shillings was a dollar. So no, so if it is 5 shillings, those are $4. How much is dollar? I won't calculate it for you. So we used to pay $4, $4 per term. Now, when we left, we were, because Jomo Kenyatta said that on Madaraka, oh no, not Madaraka, Jamhuri Day, 1974. So the third term, 1974, is the last time anybody ever paid school fees in Kenya to date. But what Moi did was bringing in school fees in another way. Brought in school fees in another way. That is when you now started hearing there was activity money. You pay for activity money. You pay for building fund. They brought in something that they were calling building fund, and so much and so forth, to an extent that money keeps on changing. But some people are saying that, why don't you just revert to it and call it why don't you revert and call it just school fees? Because I know of so many people, especially the 844. Someone joined Standard 1 during Moi's time to Standard 8. How many are those? Without repeating, those are 24 terms. 8 times 3, 24, yeah. You have been to a school for 24 terms and you have been paying building fund, and you joined the school, you left that school. Even after you left that school, so many years after you left that school, no new building has been there, but there was always building fund. There was activity. Activity. You just go to the neighboring school. The activity is even supposed to, the head teacher is supposed to hire a bus. The head teacher is supposed to hire a bus so that you go to other places. That is how Moi brought in so many activities, so many payments. Even people started bringing in, uh, there are schools, and the schools even became funny because you see, Moi also brought in this thing about competition, whereby competition started from the class. You would boast that in my class CPE or KCPE. The difference between CP and KCPE is that CP person completed primary at standard 7. So KCPE completed at standard 8. So what happened was these things were brought in, these levies and whatever. And yeah, that is, I said we had reached a place where there was now competition. There was competition where you would boast that when we did the KCPE in my school, in my class, I was the leading. Or I could even say in my school, I was the leading. And our class teacher would say our stream was the leading in that class of that year. Then also there was also competition where a school would boast that it led in the zone, and zone used to boast that way until you'll find that there is a district that used to that there is a district that has won. The minister would say from the results it is obvious that a certain district, those are district, was it Laikipia? Yeah, Laikipia. Somebody can correct me. Was it Nyandarua or Laikipia? Somebody of my age should tell me. That district used to lead a lot in district. So when competition started, about the competition here and there, people started noticing schools. People started noticing schools. I'll not name names. People started noticing that certain schools were leading, and everybody now wanted their kids to go to that schools. So those schools now started what was called admission fee or admission exam, something like that. I think like the admission exam. You see, uh, is it 8 years ago? Is it how many years ago I was in PTA in primary or even BOM? But I think the teachers use a trick that students should come for with 300 or 400 for aptitude test. But during the boy time, there was nothing like aptitude test or anything. What they used to do was that there was money which was called admission fee. Admission fee. And if you went to a school, there are those schools that used to appear every year. There is those schools that used to appear in the national leading. There's schools that you'd see students being carried high. You used to pay 10,000, and 10,000 even by today's standard is a lot of money. So when Kibaki came, he said no admission fee and nothing and whatever. So I'm just trying to tell you that I'm trying to reiterate that especially primary education, because I've talked of an A level, and I'm very sure 98% of the people are hearing about the structures of paying fees and so on in high school, Form 5 and 6. But the purpose of today was only to clarify and tell people that what people have been saying or what people believe, even it is in the Google, that Kibaki is the one who brought in the so-called free primary education. No, that is not the case. Free primary education was there. Uh, it was brought there by Mzee Jomo Kenyatta on 12th December 1974. And it is only that Moi used the back door whereby people are paying those things, those alliances I've said, the building fund, I don't know, activity fund, admission fee, and whatever. And oh God, I don't know why head teachers, primary head teachers during those years did not become super millionaire, because they were looting left, right, and center. And then We don't see them. We are not shown anything of tangible which they made out of that. That's life.